Hey, hi. How are you, Amit? Good. Hey, thanks for coming to Funky Fridays with Bo.
You're most welcome.
All right, man. So basically, yes, all right, guys. Those of you viewing outside or in Facebook Live, I hope you all have see that it's been live. So, all right, thank you so much, Amit, for coming to talk about mental health. So Amit himself is a health and wellness coach. Okay, so this conversation will be repackaged into a podcast in the coming weeks, so that everyone could also learn or listen to the podcast and learn a thing or two about what we are going to speak today. So Amit is in Singapore. So
Yes.
it's currently 5 p.m. And today Amit is going to create awareness about health and wellness, as well as mental health issues in Singapore. So once again, I welcome you, Amit. Thank you. So
Thank you for having me.
So let's chat, Amit. So basically what we do is probably introduce yourself
Sure.
to the viewers out there.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, so as you mentioned, I'm a health and wellness as well as an executive coach based out of Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing this work since the mid 2019. 2019.
2019.
Yeah, sorry about the fumble.
Hey, no worries.
So I'm married to my beautiful wife, Sharon. She is also a coach.
Oh.
You know, her day job is with LinkedIn, but you know, she also does some coaching on the side. So we both have a love for people.
Mm-hmm.
An interesting fact about me that I'm really proud of is I actually grew up on a cow farm in
Wow.
Singapore. Yeah, so
Where's
we were
that?
supplying. This was in Yio Chu Kang, track 24.
Wow.
The land parcel is still there, but obviously the land has been taken up by the government to do some other activities. So we were supplying fresh milk to households in Singapore all the way through till the early 1990s.
Okay, that's good to know. It's a first time. How's life growing in a cow farm?
It was phenomenal. Like, you know, we literally were catching grasshoppers, playing hide and seek in the jungle itself. The urban life was completely eluding us. You know, we were, staying in atap houses with all the children, of the family sleeping under one roof, eating together, playing together. So yeah, it was a very interesting childhood, I'd say.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, even right now, my son is into catching caterpillars.
Okay.
So, so we are catching a few caterpillars and trying to morph them into butterfly.
Beautiful.
So we are waiting for that moment.
Okay. How old is your son?
My son is 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good age to be.
Yeah. So, all right. So, Amit, yesterday, basically, I spoke to a mental health coach, Michelle, from Canada. So I'm inviting you today to give a perspective on the in Singapore itself. So because I've seen a difference between yourself. Yourself is a health and wellness coach. Mm-hmm. And yesterday I interviewed a mental health coach. So what are the difference between this health and wellness coach as well as the mental health coach? Are they the same, or no? Are they the same also as a mental health counseling? Do you do the same thing, or do you treat the same people?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question, Bo. So I think the DNA of coaching is the same. So we all are trained with the same skill sets and the tools. And the objective that we all have in our minds is to be able to, lead our clients towards the goals that they want to achieve, to help them lead better lives, if you will. Mm. I think the main difference when it comes to health and wellness or mental health is just the focus area, right? So Michelle, she focuses a lot more on mental health related coaching with the clients, whereas I focus with my clients on health and wellness. So things like, nutrition, weight loss, exercise, creating wellness into their corporate lives, for example. So that's the kind of work that we do. And I think that's the main differentiator. Everything else is the same. I mean, I was listening into your conversation last night, and so many similarities we both have. So yeah.
Okay.
So in terms of counseling, I think she touched on it as well. And I'd like to say that, counseling and therapy, they're quite different. So they usually deal with the past. So for example, if you take someone, where they are today and looking back to what's happened in the past, and it usually deals with issues relating to the past. So, helping them get closure or deal with issues that have taken place that are affecting them. Whereas if you look at coaching, it's very forward looking. So where are you today, and where do you want to be in 3 months' time or 6 months' time or a year down the road, for example? And which areas do you want to work on specifically?
Okay.
So that's where coaches come in.
I see. So do you agree with me that coaches are actually a complement to the therapy as well as the counseling?
Absolutely. I think in the past, there was only certain avenues available for people that were dealing with, mental health related issues. And now I've seen at least in the last 4 or 5 years, that people are also tapping into coaches to be able to help them deal with these, situations and circumstances. Although I do want to add that, as coaches, we don't specialize in treating any kind of complex clinical issues, or problems. I would tend to, depending on who the client is and what the issue is, if it's serious, then I would recommend or refer them to a medical practitioner that's, within my circle. So we don't treat them. What I do is to help clients, manage emotions, challenge the negative patterns or thinking patterns they may have, improve relationship skills, with the aim to help them lead better lives.
Okay. So, Amit, for yourself, would you be able to describe a day of a health and wellness coach? What do you do every day? Meeting clients. How do you do that, especially in times of COVID-19 where you can't really move around that much? So, how do you meet your clients or deal with them?
Well, I'm quite lucky. I'm actually in transition at the moment. So my the last corporate adventure that I had ended in early January of this year, or towards the end of January. So I've been able to dedicate a lot more time to coaching. So what a day in my life currently looks like is, so I have a practice for myself for my own health and wellness. So I get up and it's followed by a workout or a run. And then after that, I freshen up, and then I go through, my own mindfulness practice, doing some gratitude journaling. And then I dedicate some time to, reading up about the different aspects of, health and wellness topics that are available online. And that I do to equip myself so that I can help my clients better, share the information, share the knowledge. And of course, then I also dedicate some time where I'm catching up with my clients. And you're right, I mean, with this COVID thing, meeting up face-to-face has been a bit of a challenge. Although now we're in phase 2 and we can meet up, the preferred route is still, doing it through Zoom. So learning how to, equip myself on having these coaching sessions over Zoom calls, that's again been another learning, lesson for me. Yeah. So that's roughly what a day in my life looks like. So it just be, to be able to practice what I'm working with my clients on, I think that's very important for me.
Okay. So, career in coaching, I have heard about many people taking out coaching and channeling all their experiences previously. Sure. So what was the main motivation that you became a health and wellness coach?
So it probably started about, when I entered the corporate life about 18 years ago, I've firsthand experienced the stress and the pressures that are available, to an executive in the corporate world. You not only have to deal with the stresses and pressures that are being put on you by, the company or your bosses, you have the stress and pressure that you put on yourself, as human beings, right? And that probably is bigger than any other, stress or challenge that come your way. So I just wanted to find a a way that I could support, my peers, my colleagues, and the community around me deal with this kind of situations better. And I was seeking, and the universe is very funny in that way, and it provided me with an avenue to say, why don't you look at coaching as one of the ways that you can support the community and the people around you. And it also really helped because I was working with a coach at that point in time, so I also firsthand experienced what it was like getting coached by a certified coach. It was very, very powerful.
So, all right. So you have shared with me about your passion to help people with mental illness.
Yeah.
So, probably, what can you share about today's topic? Which it's indicate as your disorders don't define you.
Yeah.
Your take on that?
Well, they truly don't. We've heard of so many stories where people have had challenges that they've faced, not just mental illnesses, but physical illnesses, and they have overcome these challenges and they have created a better life for themselves in line with their core values and what they want to achieve and the kind of life that they would want to live. I think it's a very limiting belief when you say your disorders can define you. I completely disagree with that. I think there's a way of looking at the disorder and acknowledging it and seeking treatment and getting that support structure around you with loved ones and family and friends and working through it. And the beautiful thing is these disorders are reversible. It's not permanent. Right? We just need to find the way to be able to do it. And that's exactly what you have done with your podcast, to be able to create that awareness and conversation. That's exactly what we need in Singapore, which is sort of like a first world country, but there's very little knowledge around mental illnesses or health and wellness. And that's the gap that we're trying to bridge. So thank you.
All right. So, Amit, Singapore is in the Asian context about mental illness. I felt that the Asian culture finds it difficult to open up compared to the Western world. It's because, I have experienced that our Asian culture likes to stereotype, especially the older folks. One mentioned about mental illness and a lot of nonsense spewed out from them. So what can you say about this? Is it because is our upbringing and whatnot? So how do you think we can change that mindset?
It's such a good point that you raise, and you're absolutely right. It's cultural. We are in many ways behind, Europe and US, and even in Europe and US, it's hard for people to talk about, mental illnesses like depression, PTSD, etc. More so out here in Singapore, in Asia, it is cultural, and that's where awareness of this kind is so important in our day-to-day lives. So I just finished a 25-day challenge where I was doing 25 push-ups to raise awareness for PTSD, depression, and anxiety, right? And I was reading up, and I was sharing certain infographics on Facebook with my friends, for them to be able to talk about it with their circle, and just to pass on that knowledge and just have that awareness of, right, what are the symptoms like, how does a person with depression behave? What should I be looking out for? And more importantly, what can I do to help? And it's not as complex as we think it could be. Just having awareness of the symptoms can go a very, very long way.
About awareness itself, because yesterday I spoke to Michelle. So she provide sort of support for family as well. So for health and wellness itself, like for yourself, do you have that providing support as for the patient as well for the family members?
Yeah. So I would say that it really depends on my client and what they want to achieve. So I've been working with them one-on-one so far, mostly. So there hasn't been any request that has been made that, I would like to get my family members involved. If that situation happens, then we are also trained and equipped to be able to deal with, the family members supporting the person as well. And that could happen in two ways as well. So, a conversation with the client separately, and then having a conversation with the family members to understand, what their objective is. What are they looking to get out of this relationship? and then speaking to the client to understand what he or she is looking to get out of this relationship. And more often than not, I find that there usually is a little bit of a breakdown because the family members have a slightly different expectation versus the client. Whereas in my experience, working with the client on what they want to achieve is my absolute goal.
Okay, so like doctors, they have patient-doctor confidentiality. Then, whereas for you, do you, if let's say the family members know about the patient who is making appointments with you, so do you sort of explain to them, or how do you do that if there is a case of such circumstances?
Yeah, so we follow a very strict ethical guidelines, and this would have to be disclosed, within the initial phases where we are interacting, where I'm interacting with my client, to really understand what that relationship would look like. And if the family members need to get involved, then there has to be an agreement between myself and the client first and foremost. So everything is set in black and white. And we follow really, really strict guidelines on making sure that everything is kept strictly private and confidential.
All right. So, okay, there's this thing about the general notion about mental illness is for those who do not have strong will. So, what would your thought be on that?
No, I would completely disagree with it. So here's the thing, right? One doesn't choose to have mental illness. It's not you wake up one day and say, this is what I want. It just happens, right? And I feel that people who are dealing with these issues are actually some of the strongest people that I've met in my life. It takes a lot of courage to actually own up to it, to recognize that I'm having these symptoms, talk about it, seek medical help, seek therapy, seek counseling, and in certain instances also, seek coaches like ourselves to engage with them on. So I think that in itself is being extremely strong and being really, strong-willed. I do feel that as a society, we have to create a safety net still for people facing this kind of, challenges, because there's a certain stereotype that follows, right? And people don't want to address it. And that's my objective, like this day forward, since mid of 2019, to be able to create more awareness about these topics as well, and have conversations about it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, about going back to the Asian context about stigma. So we sort of always we are always wary about stigma, and some of these like mental illness is a taboo topic to even actually discuss sometimes. So what's your take if if to tell or to tell everyone, the viewers out there, about this, to actually open up their mind that actually this is not a taboo topic. This is something that you can actually learn from, and how to move forward with, let's say, patient with mental illness.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting time and space, right? COVID-19, for example, it's really brought out focus on a lot of areas that might not have been looked upon because life was just too fast-paced, right? And this certainly has created an interesting space for us in Singapore, for example, where I, for example, have been able to focus on what's really important for me. And when it comes to having this kind of a stigma, times are changing. We have the millennials coming in, and they're really open about these kind of issues and topics. And in my interactions with some of these younger generations, it's really heartwarming to see that they are willing to take that additional support or steps to create that support structure for people that are facing this kind of mental illnesses as a challenge. So my invitation, I wouldn't say advice, but my invitation to people listening in and to Singaporeans and people that are living within Singapore is help us create that, be that voice that we need, because these issues are not going away anytime soon. I feel that we will have more and more instances where people do get affected by, stress, anxiety, and the repercussions of it. So we do require a strong community support, and it all starts with education.
Okay, so the fear of stigma sometimes make people wary about opening up.
Mm-hmm.
So if let's say I am someone close to the person who's experiencing depression, anxiety, how do I sort of approach the person, or how do I see that this person is actually affected by depression? How can I come in slowly, or come in fast, or what's your advice on that?
I think what comes to me is just building that trust and holding that space for the person, and just to talk about it, talk about what you are seeing or you're observing within him, and have a conversation around it. And if you're unsure, and if the person is also unsure, then to seek medical advice as quickly as possible, and be a partner with him or her, even through their journey, to bring him to the clinic or to the doctor to seek that advice, to make sure that the person is not going through depression, or if he or she is, then get it diagnosed correctly. So I think having that trust and love and support can go a very, very long way. So I would imagine that, I would say that would be the first step. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is about, okay, I've done some research, because in my solo podcast, I did some research about suicides and whatnot.
Wow.
So I saw that 18% of young people in Singapore suffer from depression. So factors such as societal and academic pressures or unstable home life, sometimes puberty also, may cause an increased rate of depression in children and young adults as they try to navigate through life. So some also I saw that showed signs as early as age 14, because I've seen news report of PSLE student who committed suicide because he's scared of failing and whatnot. So what advice can you give to parents in Singapore about these troubling numbers?
Well, it is, it is quite stark, right? And it's really disturbing that, these kind of numbers are floating up in Singapore. I just want to add that I was doing a bit of reading up as well, based on what you've shared. And it seems like social media, although it's got many, many positives, is one of the key issues behind anxiety and depression for kids, especially in that age range from 14 to 24. So I just wanted to share that, because that was, for me, was very revealing. And again, I'm not a parent, so I'd shy away from giving advice, but I'd like to invite all the parents that are listening in to just look at it from a perspective of having a different kind of a relationship. Like maybe explore the possibility of creating a relationship that treats the child as a young adult, creating the trust and that openness, which at times comes with being a friend, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Rather than a parent. And of course, you will need to have, that relationship of a parent and child as well. But that relationship doesn't have to be all the time. There are times that you can have a friend's relationship with the child. And that almost creates an opportunity to have that conversation where your child actually opens up to you about the challenges that he or she is facing. And you can then mitigate any kind of issues that are relating to anxiety or stress or depression earlier on in that relationship, and not letting it have to go that far. Yeah, so that would be, that's what I've seen from some of the relationships that I've seen work really, really well. From my friends dealing with their kids and how they do it. And this is one of the things that I felt really compelling.
So do you think, coaching comes in play if, let's say, parents who wish, because some parents, as I know them, they are more conservative and it's difficult for them to open up. So do you think coaching would play a part if, let's say, we have that session for parents?
Oh, absolutely. I think, coaching as a skill should be taught to, all different walks of life, including parents, because it's such a valuable tool where you're almost more interested in what is in front of you or who is in front of you and what they are dealing with rather than anything that you are holding within yourself. And as parents, I know it's very, very difficult because you are then speaking to your child, right? So there's a lot of emotions involved, you know. So how do you deal with those emotions, keep them at bay while you build that relationship with the child, you know, and understanding what he or she needs before you get your emotions involved? So the answer would be absolutely yes.
Because you see, I have a growing two daughters and a son.
Right.
So my daughter is 16 and 13, you know, all in their teens. So as a father, I would also be quite anxious to see that they
Yeah.
grow up well, as well as, you know, boys nowadays, we are always wary because I've been a boy before. So that's why, you know, things like this also sort of worry me. So I probably have to now treat them as a friend. Yeah.
And if I can, you know, I'd invite you to speak from your concern.
Hmm.
If you have this concern, then have this conversation exactly like you're having with me and speak from your concern to your daughters.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So, you know, I mean, besides having the passion to help people with mental illness, so which area of coaching are you more inclined with?
So I do two different, right? So one is dealing with health and wellness, and I do also like executive/life coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I work with my clients on a number of areas affecting, you know, daily life, like career, you know, relationship with time, with age, you know, learning, money and finances, you know, family, just to name a few.
Mm-hmm.
And in my corporate life, I still do a lot of sales enablement coaching and training as well. That's been my, you know, my forte for the last 18 years.
Okay.
So these are the areas that I'm more inclined to. But I'm also keeping a check on what's available out there. How can I upskill myself? How can I upgrade myself to equip myself with more skills so that I can better serve the clients that I'm working with or future clients that I'll be working with?
Okay. So coaching seems like a very wide, there's a lot of wide spectrum. So do you know there's any like sort of skill future to have courses for us to register? Would you know any of that?
Well, I did my coaching schooling with one of the best in Asia, I think. They call the Coach Partnership, which was previously known as Newfield Asia. I don't think they are tied up with any kind of new skills, funding, etc.
Okay.
I haven't checked specifically, but I, you know what? I'll find out and I'll get back to you. Let's put it that way. I haven't
Okay.
seen anything. I haven't seen anything come across me.
Okay.
Yeah, but I will check and get back to you.
Okay, sure. So this about the besides on a less serious note,
Sure.
ultimately this show is about my first solo episode. Right now it's episode 7 in my
Okay.
podcast. My first solo episode when I started podcast, it's about tips and recommendations about having a good time on a Friday. So then after that, after I started my first podcast, I felt I should expand more. That's why I talk about passion, interviewing people about passion. So what about you? What do you do on a Friday night, or let's say for people with mental ill or people patient with mental illness or something like that? Would you be able to give any like tips or recommendations that they can do or activities that they can engage in? You know, since right now it's although we are in phase 2, so they are sometimes people are working from home. So
Yeah.
what do you think they can do better or do?
Well, what comes up for me is self-care. That's the first word that popped up for me. You know, taking that time to do what you love to do. You know, it could be a movie or spending time reading your favorite novel, playing that computer game that you really, really love, right? Life has just become so fast-paced where people are dedicating more time with things that are around them, with people that are around them, and they don't really spend a lot of time for themselves. So, you know, just taking that time to do what you love to do, you know, whatever that might be, and do that. I think Friday is a great time to do it. But I think if you can do it in the week, like every single day, dedicating an hour or two to do what you want to do, you know, that I feel benefits, a lot, because if you are taking care of yourself, then you are equipped to take care of the people around you. The second one I would say is, physical activity. I mean, we all know the benefits of exercise, right? It pumps you up with so much, happy, chemicals. You feel great. I exercise every day, sometimes twice.
I'm going later at 6:30.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I just keep doing that, right? And exercise also helps with mental illness, right? It's one of the cures, or one of the things that you can do to kind of avoid that. And I would also say, like, finding a form of a wellness practice, like just to slow things down, like a breathing exercise, or a visualization exercise, where you're creating the life, you kind of foresee the life that you want to have, what kind of house you're in, having fun with your kids, if you have kids, if you like pets. What does that 5-year, look like for you? That I feel really, really gets a lot of positive vibes flowing. For me personally, Friday is like declaring that the weekend is around. So usually I'll probably like watch a movie. If before COVID, we'll probably go down to the cinema hall, catch a movie, have dinner, and have an early night, because I cycle regularly on Saturdays. But since COVID, we'll just catch a movie online and at home, and then have dinner at home, and just one thing that really helps me is reflection as well, just to see what's gone well in this week, what do I want to celebrate, right? And spend time celebrating, like literally going, yay. And then looking at, right, what did I learn this week? What can I be doing differently next week to be able to create, something bigger or a different result? And that's a good closure for me, like to declare that as like, right, I'm done for Friday, and I'm going to enjoy the weekend now.
So do you think, because you said you are doing varied activities, do you think for those with the mental health illnesses, does a routine habit plays a part for recovery?
Yeah, absolutely. Like getting up at a specific time, in the day, and making sure that you're getting up at the same time every day. Including physical activities, the amount of food that the kind of food that you're eating plays a big part in your, health and wellness. The amount of sleep that you're getting every single day, and making sure that you get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. How much water are you hydrating, right? So for men, I think it's about 3 liters of water. And this is without exercise. So obviously, if you're exercising, you need to drink more than that. And for women, I think it's about 2 liters or 2.1 liters every day. So all of these things play a part. And like you said, having a schedule is nothing better than that. Because keeping the mind busy really, really helps. Because an idle mind is a devil's workshop, right? So keep yourself busy. I think that's phenomenal. So yeah, good shout. That's very good advice. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a last question for you, Amit. So any word of advice, if let's say, you as a coach, so any word of advice that, let's say, anyone out there who wishes to be a coach, and, is there any way they can research more? Like you said, you are trained by one of the better coaching, training centers and whatnot. So if let's say, any word of advice for these aspiring coaches in these areas?
Yeah. Well, I spent a lot of time in the why. Why was it that I was getting into coaching in the first place? And I did spend a bit of time within myself to search for that clarity. So that would be the first thing that I'd say for, up and coming coaches that want to take it up, is just have that why really clear. Because it's a very sacred job, to be able to work with people who are sharing their deepest challenges, the issues that they're facing, having conversations with them that they would normally not have with anyone else. I think it's a very, very sacred role. So having the why is very, very important for me. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, do your research and find a credible school that will serve you in your journey as a coach. So there are a lot of coaching institutes out there that spend maybe a few months and you are ready as a coach. I spent about 9 months in my coaching certification journey to become a coach. So yeah, do your research and find a credible school.
I've actually had a direct message from my friend.
Sure.
He is interested to be a dating coach. is there such thing?
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any, but I'll find out. Again, the second thing I'm going to get back to you on is, yeah, a dating coach. I think there are some available. I think it's a growing market out there. But yeah, I personally haven't experienced anything because the last time I went on a date was in 1999.
that was with your wife.
Yes. So we dated for 11 years, and then I was then I popped the question. So it was a long courtship. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
That's nice. That's nice.
yeah.
So yep. Wait. I think there's one more question which somebody sent to me. Just
Sure.
give me a moment. Let me just check. Okay. This there's no people talk about lifestyle coach also. Are they similar to what you are doing? A lifestyle coach, and wellness coach. So like I've seen suddenly today there's so many coaches to area that we can go into. So
Yeah.
what's your take about all this lifestyle coach?
Yeah. Well, I'll be interested to find out, from the person that's asking that question, what does lifestyle mean to him or her? Because I've come across coaches that help you dress a certain way, that help you look a certain way.
Okay.
Depending on the work that you do, the kind of clients that you're meeting. So we
Mm.
get that as well. So what does he or she mean by lifestyle coaches? Yeah, because
Okay.
it could mean two different things. You're right. Because
Mm.
it could mean health and wellness because it's part of lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
or it could mean literally, you dressing up in your life, or you behaving the way that you should be behaving in your lifestyle.
Okay, I think there's some conversation in my Facebook page
Okay.
about you being the dating coach. 11, but Sparsh Deep Singh. 11 years that you are dating, so you can be a dating coach also.
It's an interesting take, but yeah, I'll respond back to him privately after this conversation.
Yeah. All right. So Amit, I think we've come to the end of the conversation. So
Mhm.
I've learned a few things from you, basically about coaching and your passion about helping the mental illness patient, as well as as a health and wellness coach. So I hope the viewers out there who are seeing this conversation live, I hope they have also learned a thing or two from you, Amit. So yeah, so I really am appreciative that you are coming here. Although we there's the conversation expands from so I think we did learn a thing or two from this conversation. So I thank you so much for taking your time on a Monday afternoon to come and speak at Funky Fridays with Bo.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you having me, Bo. And inspired by you, I'm actually speaking to my fellow coaches as well to come up with some kind of social media outreach program on health-related topics, health wellness-related topics, so that we can create that, for the community here,
Yeah.
and maybe even a larger audience. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me, and I'm
Correct.
really grateful.
Yeah, because I've also gone through a few of the social media pages. I've not seen a lot of people talking about wellness on mental issue wellness and whatnot. So I think it would be a good opportunity to actually try to spread the word around, and also really I hope for everyone to let's end the stigma, because that is the first thing for them or for the mental health patients. If you end the stigma, they will definitely try to open up one bit by bit in baby steps at least.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I could not agree with you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Then head on over to iTunes and Spotify and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. If you have any other questions, suggestions, or feedback, do head over right now to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Twitch to like, share, and get involved. Till then, enjoy the rest of the weekend and do catch the next episode of Funky Fridays with Bo next week.